So I got two things to say. First of all, I'm kind of pissed because I was literally going to write an article for the State of the U, literally just like that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Because I tweeted out something last night how both Miami and FSU need to get their shit together. College football is so much better when the Canes and the Noles are great. I mean, this is a classic rivalry. Yeah, it hasn't been. I mean, I think the last relevant game was 13 when I think we were both in the top 10. But yeah, 05 was like the real last meaningful game, and it's definitely fallen off. And you got to be a lifelong Canes fan to understand what this rivalry means. And I also lived in Tallahassee, a block away from that stadium, so I saw both sides of it. And also, I lived in Alabama for a year of my life, and so that rivalry it's different than Miami FSU. It's more intense, I'd say. Miami Florida State has had greater players and better moments. Those people in Alabama, they're just sick.
Well, I think I'll be honest. I think part of that, the state of Alabama doesn't have a Major League Baseball team. It doesn't have an NBA team. There's no hockey. There's nothing. And they don't have an NFL team. The only thing they have to do there is Alabama and Auburn. I like to say that it's incestual. I know that sounds horrible, but to be honest with you, cousins hate each other on the day that Alabama and Auburn play. There are husbands and wives who won't speak to each other when Alabama and Auburn play. So it's a different type of hate than Miami, Florida State. Miami, Florida State is literally, I'll punch you in the face because you were that god-awful puke, garnet and gold. And I said last night, I looked on Romberg's page and DJ Williams' page and the ESPN college football page and the Canes football page and all these other ones. And you always have that FSU dork. It's always one. It may not be the same guy every time, but there's always that FSU dork that wants to go on there. You haven't won an ACC title. I don't give a rat's ass about a fucking ACC title. Get your sorry asses to 5 national championships or shut the fuck up. Win a baseball national championship and stop choking on Mike Martin's Johnson all the time or shut the fuck up. You hired our basketball coach and you're actually really good. I give Florida State credit. They're really good at basketball. Still haven't won a national title. Miami never gave a shit about winning a conference title. I couldn't tell you how many Big East titles we won because I didn't care. The Big East title was just a roadblock or a speed bump on the way to winning a national title. So if you're that Florida State dork that wants to get on our page, there's a reason we hate you. You've always wanted to be us. You never could be us. Look at the history. 14 times I think Miami and Florida State have met when both were in the top 10. Miami's won 10 of the 14. You were always our bitches. You'll always be our bitches. And I want you to be good just so we can smack your sorry asses back to reality where you are. You're the redneck school in Tallahassee that people go to because it's cheap. And that's the only reason people go up there.
I think we can end the episode right there.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I run into, and don't get me wrong, I have a lot of friends who are Florida State alum. Forrest Conley's a good friend of mine, lives 10 minutes from here. He played with Charlie Ward. One of my best friends, Raja Green, and his wife, they literally are both Florida State alum, although Raja's still a Miami fan, even though he graduated from Florida State. I have Florida State fans that are friends of mine. It's just the dorks. And they have them. They're the ones that, I don't follow whatever the tomahawk chop or the whatever the hell the Seminole P or whatever the hell it is that they write on. Yet they're always on our page. We write an article for State of the U. There'll be 10 comments that are Florida State people. It's like, do you guys think about us that much that you always want to comment? I may put a funny comment to Derek Brooks only because I've met him before, or I'll put a funny comment to Forrest because he's my guy. The rest of those people, man, screw them. Stay in Tallahassee, wear those stupid Seminole feathers, do that idiotic chop, and go back to your trailer parks a couple of days from now.
Well,
love it.
Well, next week on the John Michaels podcast.
Yeah, but let's be honest. That's the hatred we have for. And don't get me wrong, there's Florida State people. Like I said, Forrest is my guy. Forrest, and I think they were talking about this last night before the 2002 game. I think Vilma may have said it. The second they end the week before, like that game ends the Saturday before Florida State, they all look at each other and go, it's FSU week. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way as a fan. When we win, like I forgot who we beat the week before Florida State this year. As soon as that game ends, we beat Pitt. It's Florida State week. Yep. Nothing else matters but fuck them. And that's how I feel. My friends and I don't talk to each other. Like, don't say anything to me this week. We're going to kick your ass, and next Sunday I'm going to talk shit to you like I do 365 days a year.
Bro, I'm ready to kick off, man. Let's freaking go. I know. I will say, like, so, yeah, I mean, I grew up with that rivalry. I grew up going to those games in the Orange Bowl. I heard that dumbass chop over and over and over. I didn't realize how much they actually played and how frequently they played until I was rewatching that game. Good God. It's the most disgusting, most vile sound in the world. Like, I share you're like me, like 10 years older or 15 years older, John. Like, you sound exactly like me because I hate them. And exactly like the week before FSU, when that game is over, that night, it's FSU week. Like, I'm ready to go, and damn. All right.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it makes me, and I'm 45. My days of playing contact football are long since past. I'll play some flag football, and that's about it. But, when that week hits, it's like, man, I want to put on some pads, tape up the Achilles as high as I can, and go get it. I'll give you a story. This year I was able to take my entire family down because Florida State was bad. We weren't as good as we should have been. Tickets were relatively cheap as opposed to what I paid in the past to go to Tallahassee. And it's only about a 3.5-hour drive from Atlanta. So I hop in the car and I brought all three of my kids and my wife. And my wife's been to Miami FSU with me one other time. Her first game was 2017. And she got to see, like I said, she got to see me cry. I mean, I had tears of joy streaming down my face. She was like, I can't believe me and my best friend Carnell are literally in tears at the end of the game because we won. And she goes, I can't believe football means that much. And I said, hush, just understand that this isn't football. This is hatred. Well, my kids, they've seen me in the basement going crazy during Miami games, and they've seen me yelling on social media. They got to see when we got to Tallahassee where I flip a switch. And we had some idiot lady next to me. Every time Florida State, she was doing the chop in front of my face. I said, chop in front of my face one more motherfucking time, and you're going to see Miami. And my kids looked, and I said, you know what? You guys are older. They're almost teenagers. I said, every time they do that chop, we're going to do the fuck you Seminoles. And I started doing it as loud. And it's horrible parenting. But they looked at me and they go, Dad, you really don't like them. Why? I said, because they're wearing those fucking colors. That's why I don't like them. So my kids got to laugh. And that's where I'll tell anybody around the country, there are rivalries. And I've been lucky enough. I've been to Seattle to go to a game in Washington and see the intensity of the Huskies. Marsh, I know you're in Utah. I know Utah and BYU, like they would murder each other. That's how much they can't stand each other. Miami, Florida State is right there.
Dude, I that 2017 game, I will never, ever forget. I was at Capone's Flicker Light on Hollywood Beach in Florida, and I shed tears because that was truly, like, that meant so much to me and meant so much to Miami fans. That was 7 years of straight hell. Because most of those losses, I mean, some were blowouts, but a lot of them were blocked PAT, or like we lose by 3 at home, or we lose by 5 in Tallahassee. Like, we were right on the cusp. And then to do it in Tallahassee the way we were able to do it with Darrell Langham, I stood there at the bar and I was speechless. I was literally speechless. I mean, you're making me realize like how much like this rivalry, like, God damn it, both teams need to be good again.
Yeah, they do. And, I was lucky enough growing up in the 80s and 90s where we knew I circled week 6 on the calendar, whatever week it was. And I didn't give a damn if I failed a class. I didn't give a damn if I had a job that I was going to quit. It didn't matter. When Miami and Florida State played, we made something out of it. And thinking back to those games, and I know they've shown over the last couple of days, the 92 game, the intensity of that. My 16th birthday was 3 days before the wide right 1 game. So number 1 versus number 2. And, and this is something that I always remember. My birthday was like on a Wednesday. I think they played them November 16th. Mine is the 13th. Well, unbeknownst to me, my mother decides to throw a surprise birthday party for me that Saturday. It's my 16th birthday. Every person, again, to tell you how old I was, every person that called our house, my mom would tell them, hey, John's having a birthday on Saturday. come on over to the house. Don't tell him, but tell all of his friends. Well, Miami and Florida State kicks at noon. And by like 3:00, we're in the battle. Like, if we win, we're going to win a national championship. And all of a sudden, people start ringing my doorbell. And I'm like, why the fuck are people showing up to my house at 3:00 and Miami and Florida State are playing? And by the end of the game, there were probably 20 people there. By the end of the night, there were hundreds of people at my house. But there's literally 20 people, and I won't talk to any of them. My mom's like, it's your birthday. It's Miami, Florida State. And we're playing, and Gino Torretta and Larry Jones and Stephen McGuire. We're trying to win a national title. And when Jerry Thomas misses a field goal, I jump, I punch my ceiling, and I just run out of my house. I jump in my car, and I left. I came back like an hour later because I was so excited that Miami won. I literally couldn't be around people. And I came back, and my mom goes, where the hell did you go? I said, I had to celebrate that Miami won, and we're going to win another national title. And that's where that rivalry needs to get back to. That's where I want Florida State to be 10 or 7-0 when we play them. I want us to be 7-0 when we play them. And the entire nation to see again that, hey, this isn't a 20-year rivalry. This isn't something that's going away. This is something that means more than anybody else in the country.
I mean, that's perfectly. Sorry, Jordan, you go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, John, you're killing it, man. Like I wish I could articulate the rivalry as well as you just did. I mean, I'm sure, most of our listeners, if not all of them, can relate to what you're saying. I know I certainly can. It's just different. It's the biggest rivalry game. I can't stand when people say that we have other teams that are bigger rivals to us than Florida State, because it's intense, man.
Here's also what it is. And here's the thing for me where it differentiates from others. Florida chicken shit their way out of the rivalry in 1987. They can say whatever they want. Their school president wanted no parts of playing Miami every year. They also partially blocked us from going to the SEC in the early 90s. Miami was going to go into the SEC, and Florida goes, no, we don't want the Canes here. I think they blocked Florida State from going there as well, which is how the Noles ended up in the ACC. Notre Dame, I hated them as a kid just as much as Florida State, because they robbed us of a championship in 1988. And I always felt they were, and this is going to sound horrible to say, and this is not a racial thing, but they were the stuffy white kids. And I didn't grow up with stuffy white kids in South Florida. Palm Beach Lakes High School was anything but stuffy white kids. I mean, we were all kids. The white kids at our school were kids that grew up rough and didn't have a lot of money. And our football team was all mixed up, different races of everybody. And I looked at Notre Dame as the stuffy white kids that nobody wanted to be around. They were the Wellington of college football. So I hated them, but then they backed out of playing us every year. Florida State's never backed out of playing us, no matter where we were, how good we were, how bad we were. I respect them for that, but that's also why, Ohio State beat us in a game, Notre Dame's beat us. We play them once every 4 or 5 years. It's hard to hate somebody the same when you don't see them every day. Virginia Tech, they beat us when we sucked. Like, them beating us is only when Miami's been bad.
Absolutely, man. You make me ready for November 7th at Hard Rock Stadium. If there's fans at the stadium, you bet your ass I will be there. Okay, I want to ask you just one more question. We've been talking a lot about Mike Rumph on this podcast, especially, over the past few weeks, because, certain cornerbacks have left Miami out of their recruiting process. I want to hear your thoughts on Mike Rumph. Do you think he's on the hot seat? Do you think there needs to be a change at the coaching position, or what are you thinking about Mike Rumph?
Is he a great recruiter? Probably not. I mean, is he a good recruiter? Yes, he has us in the mix for everybody. Unfortunately for me, South Florida kids are just different. It's not where it was in 2000. Hell, it's not where it was in 2010. Kids, they take an honest look at Miami and they go, what the hell have they won? Why am I going to go there? And if you're Pat Surtain Jr., yeah, you leave. If you're Tyson Campbell, you go to Georgia. Are there bags being thrown around? You're damn right they are. There are bags being thrown around everywhere in college football. Anybody that thinks your school isn't paying for kids, you're just naive. Miami pays for kids. Alabama pays for kids. Georgia pays for kids. Florida pays for kids. You name it, they're paying kids. What I like about Rumph, and this will probably be one that people don't agree with my take. I like that he develops kids. Michael Jackson was a sort of unknown 3-star